Hey guys, welcome back. I'm sorry that I didn't put out the planned video for Monday. Classes are starting this week for me, and it's been a little bit more difficult to find time. But anyways, today we are going to be talking about Fyreslayers. From flame-filled holds and deep mountain vaults, the Fyreslayers march to war. With axes ready and war cries on their lips, they charge into battle, the power of the mighty warrior god Grimnir flowing into them from glittering golden runes, hammered into their ruddy flesh. As the age of Sigmar begins, amid the crash of thunder and flash of lightning, the Fyreslayers look toward the roar of battle. Their patriarchal Auric rune fathers sense the promise of more gold waiting to be won by blood, while their priestly Auric rune masters feel the spirit of Grimnir stir within their people. It is a time of great promise for the Fyreslayers, and a chance to honor their god with enemies vanquished and oaths fulfilled. Runes burning bright within their flesh, and axes held tight in callous fists, the Fyreslayers gather their strength for this new age of battle across the mortal realms. The Fyreslayers are the descendants of the warrior god Grimnir. Covered in corded muscles, each Fyreslayer is a natural warrior, determined in battle and skilled with an axe, but they are more than merely gifted fighters. By the flickering light of their forges, their rune masters craft runes from the magical substance gold, believed by the Fyreslayers to contain the essence of Grimnir. When they hammer these sigils into their flesh, the molten energy of their god courses through their veins. Bodies shimmering with golden flame, blows glance off their skin without leaving a mark, while their own axes strike with thunderous power. Since the age of myth, the Fyreslayers have traveled the realms seeking gold. Spreading from the first vast subterranean magma holds of Akshi, the Fyreslayers took root among the realms. They amassed gold, mined from the earth or gathered from the ruins of fallen empires, seeking out the rare pieces of gold hidden among this precious bounty. By far the most gold comes from coin earned in battle, and the Fyreslayers will fight for any who can meet their price. They are much sought after by warlords and kings for their service, for their fury in combat and unbreakable word are legendary across the realms. In the flaming footsteps of Grimnir walk the Fyreslayers. Warrior god of the Dwarden, Grimnir was brother to Grungni, one filled with the fury of battle, the other tempered by the forge. An age ago, when Sigmar freed the shackled Dwarden gods atop the tallest of the iron mountains of Kaimon, hot-headed Grimnir demanded the god king accept his warrior's oath and choose a mighty enemy for him to slay. So it was that the legendary Dwarden sought out Volcatrix, mother of salamanders. As Grimnir strode the realm of fire, Volcatrix uncoiled like a molten river from between smoke-belching peaks. Gleaming blade and burning fang met in a shower of sparks, each blazing ember outshining the stars as God sought to best monster. Fyreslayers tell that it was Volcatrix's spite that claimed Grimnir's life. Even as she died, the great salamander erupted, leveling mountains and scattering the two gods across the realms, the flames of Akshi and the spirit of Grimnir, forever intertwined. A bath of blood and gold. For a long age of battle, the Fyreslayers have sought the soul of Grimnir from among the Urgold of the mortal realms. In these years of conflict and strife, they have become a warlike people, fighting to create massive magma holds and selling their services as warriors to earn the bloody coin of battle. Fyreslayers have a fearsome reputation across the realms. Berserk warriors born for war, they burn with a spiritual rage. The Fyreslayers' beards are filled with soot, as if they have just stepped out from the forge, while their calloused skin shimmers with heat and cinders spill out into the air with each breath they take. By far the most intimidating aspect of a Fyreslayer is his gaze, which burns with all of Grimnir's fury. A Fyreslayer's might comes from the pieces of Urgold hammered into his flesh. When Grimnir and Volcatrix destroyed each other, Grimnir's spirit was scattered across the mortal realms. These divine fragments finally came to rest within veins and hoards of gold, transmuting some of the precious metal into Urgold. Using the skill of their rune masters, the Fyreslayers cast this metal into sacred runes, each one heavy with magical might. In ancient rituals, these sigils are bonded to a Fyreslayer, gifting him with great power. To the races of the realms, Fyreslayers seem as mercenaries, agreeing to battle only for a hefty price in gold. Yet this is only part of the truth. Fyreslayers do not seek treasure for its own sake, nor do they covet wealth for what it can buy them. The holds, weapons, and lands a lodge owns are all crafted by the toil of its own people. For a Fyreslayer, the gathering of Urgold is a religious act, one that brings them closer to Grimnir. Before a lodge commits to battle, they will make an oath, whether this is a contract made for pay, or a Dwarden kneeling before his rune father. It binds the lodge's warriors to their task. A Fyreslayer will not break his oath once it has been taken, nor will he accept payment for an oath unfulfilled. Such is the nature of the Fyreslayers, who fight not just for the Urgold that holds Grimnir, but to be worthy of wearing it in their flesh. Belgrim Grimnir caught the last Chaos Knight's blade in the teeth of his grand axe, twisting the weapon from his foe's grip with expert ease. The blade-clad warrior's empty hand grasped the air for a second, and Belgrim fancied he saw fear in the two glinting eyes framed by the knight's visor. Then both helm and visor vanished in a spray of gore as the rune father reversed the swing of his grand axe. As the headless body fell heavily, Belgrim looked about to see that his berserkers held the burning battlefield. Vivid splashes of blood and the bodies of chaos warriors marked the ground all around them. Nearby stood the pyroclast towers, their human priests fearfully watching the battle unfold. Riding his massive magma droth into the shadow of their gate, Belgrim called out to the defenders. "The deed is done, Ash Priests. Now, as agreed, the gold you owe us, With a shaking finger, one priest pointed to the far horizon. Lord Grimnir, another warband of the Gore-Tide approaches. Deal with them, and we will open our gates and pay what was promised. Belgrim growled. Did no one ever tell you not to break an oath with a Fyreslayer? The Rune Father let the statement hang for a moment, glancing over his shoulder at the approaching Chaos Army. The priests stood mute, their gates unmoving. Then perhaps others will learn from your example. With a gesture, Belgrim gathered his warrior fears, the Fyreslayers leaving the humans to their fate. Temples of Fire. Grimnir's fiery spirit stretches out across the realms, its burning, beating heart kept alive in the forged temples of the Fyreslayers. Secure in the depths of the magma holds, each temple is a sanctuary, where the Zargrim priesthood guard ancient secrets, among ringing hammers and molten steel. Hidden deep beneath shimmering mountains and behind graven stone doors are the forged temples of the Fyreslayers. To the ceaseless ring of hammers and the grinding wail of axes being sharpened, the Auric rune masters cast runes of Gold. It is a task reserved for a lodge's rune master alone, as the venerable Dwarden is the only one skilled enough to discern true Gold and extract it from the precious metal that hides it. Even the Auric Rune Father, Lord of the Lodge, defers to the Rune Master when he seeks to know the will of Grimnir. The wisdom of the Rune Masters has kept the Fyreslayers alive for centuries, and only the most foolhardy or headstrong Rune Fathers ignore their counsel. The secret of Gold is in many ways as much a mystery to the Fyreslayers as it was when they first learned of its divine power. The first followers of Grimnir to find the mineral knew it was somehow connected to their fallen god, but not how. In time, masterwork weapons and armor were created from the metal, for the Fyreslayers have always been great craftsmen. Yet these Gold objects could only impart a small measure of power to their wielders. It was only when the first Rune Masters forged symbols of Grimnir for warriors to wear into battle that the true potential of Gold was glimpsed. Blazing with white-hot light, these tokens burned their way into the flesh of the Fyreslayers, sending them into a Grimnir-blessed fighting frenzy that saw countless enemies cut down. Eventually, the Gold was turned into runes and hammered directly into a warrior's skin, where its divine energies could take root. The Zargrim priests, the rune smiters, earn the rites that awaken this power in the Fyreslayers and accompany them into battle. Gold is a finite resource, its power consumed in battle as a Fyreslayer fights. To maintain his might, a Fyreslayer must constantly have fresh runes struck into his body. This can leave the Dwarden craving more, should he feel the divine power of Grimnir leaving him. And it is from this hunger that many legends of the Fyreslayer's gold lust have been born. Alone, and without the strength of a lodge to guide him, a Dwarden might be completely consumed by his avarice for Gold. Grim tales are told within the magma holds of lone warriors, such as the Axe of Magorth, or the Immolated Slayer, who will eventually kill their own so they might prize the runes from their remains. Thus do the Rune Masters guide the Fyreslayers and their lodges, ensuring that Urgold is given to those deserving of its blessing, and that no warrior is given more than his due. Sparks flew as the hammer drove the rune into Grumek's flesh. The young Dwarden gritted his teeth against the pain, the thick smell of his own cooked flesh filling his nostrils. "Good lad," rumbled the rune smiter. "Grimnir tests us with pain, and he rewards us with his fire." Grumrek looked down to where the angled sigil now shone upon his arm. The flesh around it was hardly burned. Then, somewhere in the shadows of the Forge Temple, a droning chant began, and Grumrek felt something stir within him. "Take up your axe," bellowed the rune smiter. "Feel its weight within your hand." Grumrek did as he was bade, hefting his weapon, which now felt as light as if it had been beaten from tin, not forged from fire steel. "That is Grimnir's power you feel in your blood, beardling," growled the rune smiter. In the distance, horns heralded the call to war. With a last look at the rune smiter, Grumrek turned toward the sound, hefting his axe and preparing himself for battle. The Axes of Grimnir. Mighty are the magma holds of the Fyreslayers, for they delve deep into the earth. Scattered across the mortal realms, the descendants of Grimnir seek out places where they might be closer to their god, constructing vast subterranean fortresses hewn from the stony hearts of mountains and volcanoes. Deep down beneath the surface, where rivers of fire flow, can be found the holds of the Fyreslayers, clinging to islands adrift in seas of molten lava, or carved from crystal-laced stone. The Dwarden seek the mineral wealth of the ground, or the heat of the flame, for it is here that can be found the essence of their god. In the age of myth, after Grimnir's destruction, the god's followers made their home in Akshi. Here, along the vast volcanic mountain range, known as the Salamander's Spine, the early magma holds were created. Even today, many centuries later, the largest lodges still live here, and the ground still yields Urgold and magma droth eggs. Yet the Fyreslayers have wandered far and wide since the first Forge Temples were ignited in the depths of their magma holds, crossing the realms in search of gold. Following tales of fortune and war, lodges have made their home in every realm from Gur to Shyish. Selling their services in battle, they have amassed vast vaults of wealth, their holds growing large and deep within the earth. In the Jade Kingdoms, many lodges have made their home among Alariel's lands, such that those who dwell within the petrified trees of the Forest of Eternal Winter, rubbing the trees' ashen sap into their hair, they have become known as the Pale Slayers of Winter, feared by Nurgle's minions and Sylvaneth alike. Atop the glittering crystal mountains of Lunarest, in the realm of Hysh, live the Thungar Lodge. In graven fortresses of glass they melt their Urgold under giant lenses, their flesh glittering with gold dust. Among the shadowlands of Sheish, where the veil of forgetfulness turns to mist and nothingness, live the Ulrung Lodge. Here, at the edge of the underworld, they fight in the war between living and dead, growing rich off the grave goods of the departed. During the long age of chaos, the Vostarg Lodge guarded their forge temple deep within the fiery heart of the salamander's spine. By the flickering light of flaming rivers, the great rune master struck gold runes from the bounty of the magma vaults. Countless times the armies of the dark gods sought to slaughter the Vostarg Fyreslayers, and each time the Dwarden hurled them bloody and broken back onto the scorched plains that stretched out before their gates. But always the enemy returned. The Vostargs were ultimately undone, not by the cruel hand of chaos, however, but by their own avarice. When the legendary runefather Thorgar Grimnir fell to the axe of a bloodthirster, he left 12 rune sons, but no favored successor. Thus did the Vostargs argue among themselves, each rune son convinced that he, and he alone, bore the blessing of Grimnir. With chaos still at their gates, the rune master divided the lodge's gold among the rune sons, lest their fighting turn from words to blood, and bade them go their separate ways. So it is that to this day the Vostarg's scions can be found in many realms, while the great magma hold of Vosforge is filled with naught but ghosts. Oaths of Gold. The Fyreslayers' quest for gold has seen them travel to all the realms and countless lands within them. Over these centuries of expansion they have fought in numberless conflicts, the ring of fire steel on armor and the screams of their vanquished enemies echoing from Akshi to Giran. For the right price, they will win wars and bring down kingdoms. Such is the strength of a Fyreslayer's oath. Grimnir's last battle. Akshi shuddered as Grimnir and the mother of salamanders, Volcatrix, did battle. The ground beneath their feet burned as it was bathed in their molten blood, until with a roar heard across Akshi, Grimnir and his foe fell. In that moment the Fyreslayers were born, Grimnir's warriors setting out to gather the remnants of their shattered god. Tongues of Lava. Legend tells that Rumnar Grimnir founded the Shimmer Hold by drinking a caldera dry of lava, and for centuries afterwards the Runefather glowed like a raging volcano in every battle he fought. A bargain with chaos. The Lofnir Lodge made oaths with Chaos Lord Magarak to aid in the destruction of the vast Atlantic Empire. To overcome the gilded steam gird, the Lofnir mustered a great war throng of magma droths, whose combined flames melted the huge defenses. Fire-blooded brothers. The Firehand Lodge was driven mad with glimmerlust, turning upon their rune rune master and giving in completely to the Urgold hunger. For many years, the Firehands raised other Fyreslayer lodges, prizing golden runes from the remains of their brothers and desecrating forge temples. Finally, an alliance of a dozen lodges brought the Firehands to justice, and the treacherous lodge's rune father was buried beneath a pile of leaden slag, as punishment for bringing dishonor to Grimnir. The Eternal Keep. The Grimnir Lodge attacked the ever-living keep, carved from the roots of a Girin oak. Each time its Sylvaneth defenders were slain, they grew again. Unwilling to break their oath, the Lodge chose to wage endless battle, rather than accept defeat. An oath betrayed. After the Hermdar Lodge saved the 7 crystal cities from chaos, the city's lords refused to pay the Fyreslayers. Enraged by this treachery, Durnir Grimnir summoned his lords of the lodge to visit retribution upon the decadent Crystal Kings. So furious was their vengeance that naught remains of those once glorious lands. The Time of Flames. 100 generations after the death of Grimnir, a time of cataclysmic volcanic eruptions shook the realm of fire. Many magma holes were swallowed up by the tortured land in this time. However, the upheavals were also seen as a sign that Grimnir's spirit was shifting in its molten grave. In the disaster's wake, tons of Urgold were brought to the surface, and many new lodges were born during the gold harvest that followed. From the ashes. In retribution for the destruction of the Basalt Hold, the Obsgrum Lodge forged an alliance with the Witherwood Gargants. Together, the Fyreslayers and their allies rampaged through countless Uruk war clans, returning tenfold the destruction wrought upon them by the Greenskins. Grimnir's Master Rune. After doing battle with Nurgle Rotbringers, Rune Smiter Forgan ordered his dead cremated to recover their Urgold. As the sacred metal flowed out of burning flesh, it formed a perfect rune of Grimnir. Empowered by the rune, Forgan and his gathered rune smiters led an army of Forge brethren to cleanse the deep ways of taint for centuries to come. Last stand on Firetop Peak. The host of Clepsyrian laid waste to the city of Firetop Peak until only the Doomseeker Feargrim remained to hold back the Slaneshi Herald. After scores of demons fell at Feargrim's feet, Clepsyrian herself stepped forward, though it would be the lone Fyreslayer who carried victory that day. The Iron War. Hundreds of warrior kin bands sought out Urgold among the lands of Caemon and became embroiled in the bitter Iron War. In exchange for gold, the Dwarden fought against the Bloodstone Conclave and their undead legions. The Lost Oath. In the land of Chained Sun, the Vostarg found an oath carved into the helm of a dead Fyreslayer. Without hesitation they took it up, for even in death their word is iron. Sigma-hold wars. The armies of chaos sought to destroy the Fyreslayers once and for all. Twisted, demonic siege engines and cunning ratmen sappers battered and clawed their way into countless holds, and soon the dark was filled with the ring of steel and the screams of the dying. Yet after more than a century of war, the Fyreslayers remained, having weathered all the dark gods could throw at them. And that, being halfway through this section, is where we are going to bring this video to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking the video or subscribing to the channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.